Hey everyone, and welcome to a Patreon video for the Final Down NFL podcast with me, Jim, Punk Raider, and Denver Dave. We are here to talk about the QB moves that have been happening, because obviously it's been quite an important day. Very impressive moves going on. We're going to start with the breaking news, and that is that the Washington Commodores have traded for Carson Wentz from the Indianapolis Colts. Yep, the co-managers have switched second round picks.
Popular beat pop combo.
This year, yep. So they've moved up 5 spots, and then they've given up their third round pick this year and a third round pick next year, which could become a second round pick if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps for Washington. Very similar deal to what the Colts gave to the Eagles when they traded for him just a year ago. Boys, initial thoughts about this move? Because it sounds like the Washington Commanders went through every single team in the league and every league to
they did
what the availability was like.
They did literally. I think this is a big move for the Colts in the fact that they've got someone taking on the entire cap hit of Carson Wentz. It now leaves them with almost 70 million worth of cap hit, so expect them to be extremely busy when it comes to free agency. They need left tackle because they've confirmed Eric Fisher's not coming back. Everyone who they need to is pretty much signed, but they need a quarterback. So, go and get someone. I think it's down to 2 candidates really of Jimmy G and possibly Marcus Mariota. Now, neither of those two are going to command enormous figures. So even if they, you pay them 20 million, you're still left with 50 million quid in free agency. So, and that will put them third in the list over everyone in the NFL. So they can still afford to be extremely busy and pack out with talent. So yeah, good move for the Colts.
So I feel sorry
about for Fisher. Taylor Heineken.
Sorry?
I do. I feel sorry for Taylor Heineke. I don't think he's done that much wrong. What's he done wrong? He's played perfectly well at the Commanders for the last couple of seasons. He's now getting shoved into the Gardner Minshew level quarterback. You're not going to sit there and tell me that you don't think Taylor Heineke's been at least as good a quarterback as Carson Wentz over the last 2 seasons.
Question:
Absolutely not.
Have you seen Taylor Heineke play recently?
Yes. This season.
Have you seen Carson Wentz play recently?
Yes.
What the hell makes you think that Taylor Heineke is not going to be the starter next year? Just saying. There's going to be
because you're not going to take a 20 million cap hit on a QB that's literally just played 1 season of a contract if he's not coming in as a starter.
You might be right in week 1.
And if you're Carson Wentz, you want guarantees before you even go
week
there.
5, maybe even week 5. But when he's got 2 sprained ankles after week 6 and he's throwing interceptions as he's going to the ground and not checking out runs, you never know what's going to happen.
I still think it's harsh on him. I still think it's harsh.
I mean, of all the injustices that's happened with everything in the NFL, this isn't probably the worst. So I'm not.
No, that's true.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Don't worry.
I think he's done enough that he'll be able to at least shop himself. He's better than a Trubisky or a Mariota, as far as I'm concerned.
Whatever's happened in his career so far, he's done enough to build himself a 10-year career as a backup. Worst case scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, he'll be absolutely fine. And absence makes the heart grow fonder. I mean, look, everyone's talking about Mariota now as being a genuine starter. He's not a genuine starter. We've seen it 100 times previously. People leave the league or are no longer playing, and their hype grows. I mean, people talking about Trubisky. I mean, come on, we all.
Joe Flacco's getting some.
This is it.
Column inches.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder and the pockets grow wider. He will be fine. Don't worry about it.
It's also off season, and there's only 32 starters, so all those journalists have got to fill those column inches with something.
Yeah,
even if it's completely made up random stuff.
So what do the Colts do now? Because obviously Jim Irsay was saying as soon as their season ended abruptly in week 18, that he wasn't happy and he was going to make improvements. And obviously, the guy they just traded for a year ago was the first one out the door. So they're going to have their 6th starter on week 1 in the last 6 years.
So this Friday coming up, the Deshaun Watson is going to a grand jury basically to find out whether or not any criminal action is going to be taken against him. If the answer is no, then he comes on the open market, and there's several needy teams who will be able to put their hat in the ring for him. So are they in that conversation? Absolutely. So are a lot of other teams, Seahawks, Steelers, etc., etc. However, that's an if, and you can't trade your current starting quarterback on an if. So they have to have a plan at the moment. As I've mentioned, Jimmy G kind of feels like, the guy who can just manage a game and not lose in week 18 to the Jags, put you out of the playoffs. He kind of feels like that naturally.
He hasn't done that. You're right.
Am I being dumb, or does that kind of feel like what?
Jimmy G does feel like a nice, safe pair of hands for the Colts to have in there. The question is, do they want a nice, safe pair of hands, or do they actually want a quarterback that can win them games? Because Jimmy G won't. Jimmy G will be fine, but he won't win you games. So it depends on what they want to go and spend their 70 million of cap on. Are they going to go out and get? Because there's no guarantee T.Y. Hilton's coming back. That receiving core was not great last year. They need some help on offense.
The offense runs through Jonathan Taylor, so Jimmy G's used to handing it off.
The receiving core was as good as I think the quarterback's play would allow them to look. Zach Pascal's on a free at the moment. T.Y. Hilton's future is questionable. I'm not sure if he's out of contract though. But I know.
No, he's just old and
I think he is out of contract. I think he's on about $8 million. He's looking for if you're going to retain him, but he is 32.
And there's talk of Jack Doyle retiring as well.
He has retired. Mo Ali Cox is out of contract as well. The other tight end. So but they've got space to fill that receiving core. I mean, if you're a quarterback and if you're a quarterback and I'm coming to you and saying, okay, we got shed loads of cap space, come and play for us and pick your receivers. If there's any guys out there you want, name them, we'll go and get them. Nothing wrong with that. So the lack of receivers doesn't concern me all too much. I think one of the reasons we're probably so attracted by Jimmy G is the fact that we've gone from being, say we as on part of the Colts, the Colts have gone from having someone who's uber high risk. The option now is to go the other way and kind of be a bit too safe maybe, when in fact you want somewhere kind of in the middle. I don't know what the happy medium is, but I feel like it's not Marcus Mariota or Mitchell Trubisky. So on that basis of who's available, if Deshaun Watson's not available, I'd kind of pivot and go with Jimmy G because he's the best available. And the other problem with Deshaun Watson is that even if he is cleared, there's nothing stopping the NFL from putting him on the exempt list after you've traded for him. So you'll need some guarantees from the league that if you go and give up a load of first-round picks for him, that he's actually going to pay for you.
The first thing Chris Ballard would be get on the phone and say, look, what's going to happen if we trade for him? So if any trades do happen, I'm not too worried about that. But then there's other factors. Is Kyler Murray really going to be staying in Arizona? I didn't think for a single second that Russell Wilson would be leaving Seattle. I genuinely didn't. I think I said that to you several times, Jim. I don't think he'll leave.
Mm-hmm.
What do I know? Turns out I'm an idiot. Who knew, right?
Well, we knew that. But, okay, so how about the Commanders then? So we talked about the Colts, and they'll probably go for someone like Jimmy. They need to have someone at least as big a name as Carson Wentz, and they should be aiming for bigger. Quite what that means now that the two elite QBs are off the board in terms of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I don't know. Jimmy G seems to be the kind of, you can sell him as a Super Bowl playing QB over the last couple of years. He's got a winning record. He doesn't throw as many interceptions as Carson Wentz. Although Carson Wentz only threw 7 interceptions last year, he basically carbon copied his 2019 season with the Eagles. So I think this is a little bit bad on Frank Reich. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator in Philly when Carson was at his peak, air quotes, and he lobbied as well. He said last week at the Combine, he kind of let slip that he lobbied for Carson Wentz to come to Indy. And now in one season, he hasn't been able to get that kind of gunslinger, big play highlight mentality out of Carson Wentz. And although he's only throwing 7 interceptions, they were killer interceptions.
Yeah, but to be fair to Wentz also, it's kind of difficult to be the gunslinging good quarterback when you're permanently injured. There are games that he was playing that he just shouldn't have been playing in. So, I think it is a bit harsh to kind of chase him out of Indy after one season. But on the flip side, it's a business. At the end of the day, the teams are going to do what's best for the teams, or what they think is best for the teams. Now, if that turns into Jimmy G in Indianapolis with a new set of receivers, then great. The Eagles are going to love the fact that they get to hit Wentz twice a season.
Absolutely.
There's going to be some big smiles on that Philly defense. That's for certain.
So how about the Commanders then? Let's talk about them because they haven't given up too much to get him. Really, it's a switch of a second. So it's 5 spots they've moved down in the second round this year, given up their third rounder. And then next year they've given up the third, potentially a second. So it's mostly the money that they've given to get him.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fairly decent move. They've certainly, I think they've upgraded from Taylor Heineke. I like Taylor Heineke, but I think that you're more likely to win the game with Carson Wentz.
I think I'm going to go back to what I said probably this time last year, roughly, and it'll almost be a carbon copy. Calm him down and get him to realize that not every play is 4th and long at the end of the Super Bowl, and he doesn't need to make a play. And do you know what? It's okay to punt. Punting's fine. That's okay. We're fine. You do that, and you'll be in a much. You do that, and you'll be in a much better position with him.
I'm not sure if they're going to do that to him though. He's what, 5 years into his career, and Frank Reich couldn't do it, and he knew him since he came into the league. And you've got Ron Rivera, who's a defensive coordinator by trade. Is he going to know how to kind of QB whisper to Carson Wentz? He couldn't do it to Cam Newton.
Okay, but that's where you get a coordinator or a coach or someone who's going to work with him, QB coach, and just say, look, you coach this guy. You get him a way to find out to make him play. And we've all seen it. We've all seen Last Chance U on Netflix. When people know it's their last chance, and this potentially is his last chance, it changes your mentality. It changes the way that you prepare and the way that you do things. And I think that can have an actual impact. But when I think you're probably more correct than I am, and when push comes to shove and you're in the game zone and you've got 60,000 people shouting your name and everyone's going a bit nuts and you're in the moment, what do you do?
The other thing the other thing I'd look at that might actually start calming him down is all these injuries. He might not want to calm down, but he might have to. So you never know. You know what I mean? Actually being injured and not being able to move as freely and just be carefree about these things might actually help him become a better quarterback. Who knows?
I mean, dude's 29. Let's not go nuts. He's still 29 years old.
Yeah.
He's not even 30 yet.
He's got plenty of time. We really have kind of moved into this, play them now, and if they don't work out in 3 years, then they're busts. It's massive boom or bust now. And whereas, I think we've all said previously, we used to like quarterbacks to sit for a season, learn systems, et cetera, before coming in. Now it's, if you haven't made the playoffs within 3 years, you're dead and buried almost. So, I think for Washington, I think for McLaurin and that, it's probably a good deal because we know Wentz can chuck it long and he's an exciting quarterback. But, it's can they keep him upright? Can they keep him injury free? And can he sort his head out?
There's a lot of ifs there. The good news for Carson Wentz is he won't have to play in front of 60,000 because they don't get 60,000 at a Washington game. So, wish him all the best.
Collapses most of the time, isn't it? So
that too. Yes. Let's move on. Let's move on and talk about the non-trade basically that started all this yesterday. And that was Aaron Rodgers not going anywhere, not going to the Denver Broncos as we kind of thought / hoped that he might do. He instead signed a 4-year, $200 million contract with the Packers, including $153 million guaranteed, as an average annual salary of $50 million, which is basically what he demanded to stay. He'll earn a base salary this year of $26,500, basically a workout bonus of $500,000, an incentive bonus of just over $500,000 again, and a cap hit of over $46 million. I don't know about you guys. All right, Aaron Rodgers is a back-to-back MVP, 4-time MVP for his career, but I think he has just absolutely destroyed the Green Bay Packers with this move.
Well, has he signed that contract? Because he came out and announced that I will be coming back to the Packers, but I haven't signed a contract. And on the McAfee show, it was announced that, or he specifically said, and they've said several times, no contract has been signed. So there's a lot of reporting, but I mean, from the horse's mouth, he's saying, I have not signed a contract yet. So if the numbers are true, then they are monster numbers. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers was on monster numbers anyway. So it's an increase from 40 million to 50 million. So what? If most of that's roster bonus, then you're actually reducing the cap for your cap hit for this year potentially. So it depends on the way it's structured. The headline number of 50 million a year doesn't really mean a great deal. Look at Dak's contract last year. Because most of it was a roster bonus, he got 70 million in cash last year, but the actual cap hit wasn't 70 million, it was 47 or 48 or something like that. Now they want to restructure the contract again to turn next year's payment into a signing bonus, which then turns out into dead cap, so it's all paid in the beginning of the season. It's cap gymnastics. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone does it. Some teams better than others, but we don't know if he's actually signed the contract yet. The big news is he's staying with the Packers, which is good news for everyone, other than the Vikings, Bears, and Lions, obviously.
Well, we kind of expect him to stay with the Packers, but
yeah, I agree.
There's still that opportunity there for someone to say something and him flip out and go, bollocks that, I'm not going to sign, I'm going to go elsewhere. Yeah, and you just wouldn't be surprised with this. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't be surprised.
No,
if at some point he threw his toys out the pram and went somewhere else just for the hell of it.
He has turned into Brett Favre, hasn't he? He has completely consumes the playbook of Brett Favre. And so every year now, the Packers will be on tenterhooks for the off-season while he goes into some sort of retreat and vomits his way through another session. I don't know.
Let's play a theoretical game.
Okay.
Let's say he has signed the monster deal, makes him the highest paid player in NFL history. Let's say he signed that deal.
Yeah.
What happens to Jordan Love?
Because he sits down for another year.
Another 4 years potentially.
It's a 4-year deal. No one has anyone actually.
He's not going to be there for another 4 years.
Sat for 6 years.
He's not going to be there for another 4 years. Let's be
honest. So let's say he signed a 4-year deal. They have to trade him. Okay, they have to.
Yes.
What do you get for a guy who's never taken a snap? Bearing in mind, if you pick him up, it's going to be a 5th-year option, which is what you're going to have the 4th year and then the third, 4th, 5th-year option, which is 50 million. So he's not cheap. It's not like you're picking up a guy who's 6 or 7 million. So you're looking at what, 4th rounder tops?
Yeah, in theory. But I mean, the main problem you've got is that there's no decent tape on him playing in the NFL. Every time he's played, he's been absolutely dreadful. So who's actually going to drop anything for him?
They're going to have to eat it. They're going to have to eat it. Everything they've done there is just an absolute whiff.
No, I mean, whatever happens now, they're going to have to eat it no matter what. That's absolutely given. But what do they do with him? Do they just keep him? Because you can't have a first round guy in the shadows. Maybe you can. I don't know. It just feels all a bit. I've never known this. I've never ever known this.
You could just drop him out the door if needs be, but put him on the practice squad. You know,
let's not pick him off waivers.
Do you know what I mean? But it's a weird one.
The Packers can always spin it to their fans, saying it just spurred on Aaron to have a couple of back-to-back MVP seasons, so it was worth it. Whatever we lose on Jordan Love,
fans aren't stupid.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I don't know. It just feels like he's bottled it to me. He had a chance to go and actually have because we've seen this film so many times now with Rodgers and the Packers. They demolish their division. They get either the first seed or the second seed in the NFC, and then they shit out in the playoffs. They don't make the Super Bowl, and a new contract for him is only going to make it harder for them to bring in talent around him. I hate bringing up Brady all the time, but the QBs that get to the Super Bowl invariably aren't the ones on the highest salary.
That's true.
They're the ones that are brought. They're either rookie, like Patrick Mahomes when he was still on his rookie deal. Or, I
mean, Patrick Mahomes, his current deal is very team friendly. So, let's not. It's everyone else who's earning a lot of money, not Patrick Mahomes. There aren't many players who take their team to the Super Bowl when they are the highest earners, when they earn the majority, because it's as much as it is a quarterback's league, and it is a quarterback's league, it's also about pieces around you as well.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's helped the team with this move. They could have got an awful lot of picks for him. They could have got so much for him if they'd moved him on. 38 years old. Thanks very much for the memories. You're into our Ring of Honor or whatever they do up there, and you could have gone off to another team, had a go at it. Leave the conference,
We'd have done that. We just because the three of us are clever enough to have said, yeah, we'd have traded him away. Yeah, it doesn't mean that there isn't some part of the Green Bay management team that's sitting there going, no, we just want to keep him until he retires.
Yeah,
it's like their little train set, isn't it? And Green Bay do this. They get so enamored with their players that they can't let them go, and even when it's good business to do so.
But it's as I say, it's everyone else in the division you have to feel sorry for, because if he does see out this 4-year contract, if it's real, he'll essentially, everyone else in the division would have had 34 years consistent playing against Hall of Fame quarterbacks. That's rough.
Not quite.
Next time you hear me moaning about Patrick Mahomes, just remind me of that. I mean, I'm partial to the Lions as well, so I'm feeling that pain.
Yeah, I can't see him finishing the 4 years of his career. He's going to be 42 by the time that ends. And
I genuinely don't believe that anyone, the way that quarterbacks can drop off, will offer a $200 million deal. And if it does, I'm telling you, nothing's guaranteed. It's like there's 0 pennies guaranteed outside of maybe the first year, maybe 2 years. Year 3 and 4. I mean, year 3, it's rare to get guarantees in year 3 anyway, but there will be nothing guaranteed in year 4. Nothing.
I can see him playing 2 years and that's it.
Yep, and then he'll go and host Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get bored.
Or run for president. Yeah.
Wow.
One of those.
He's not got enough money. He's not got that much money.
Cheese Company, maybe.
Okay, so that was the Aaron Rodgers non-move. And then 10 minutes after that was announced, we got the news that Russell Wilson is moving to the Denver Broncos. Dave, you've been basically giddy, haven't you, since this came out?
Do you know what?
I spelled Las Vegas Raiders wrong again.
You were so hopeful, weren't you, Punk?
I was.
Do you know the biggest thing? And there's a million things I could say about this. For so long, every single move we've been making has always been about what are we going to do at quarterback. So even if you sign a new linebacker, okay, how much cap does that give us? What have we given up for it? What do we have left? What can we trade? What can't we do? We as an organization are not going to have to worry about that now, potentially for the next 8, 9, 10 years, potentially. All being well, touch wood. And that's amazing for us. I mean, you two guys have had it. Derek Carr's, people say what they like about him. He is a good regular season quarterback. He hasn't had the chance.
He's a solid standard quarterback. There are not many quarterbacks in this league that I would swap him for.
I'd say there's 10 people ahead of him, but he's knocking on the top 10 in terms of ability.
He's not the best QB in his family.
BAV. But Jim, you've had Ben Roethlisberger for, what was it, 37, 38 years now or something like that. So you've had that stability, and having that stability is a big thing. In terms of the actual trade value, I don't have an issue with it at all. Because I sent a group WhatsApp, and I was like eerily close to what was actually, I think it was 1 round off on one of the picks. I think I said first, second, fifth, and it was first, second, fourth. So I was slightly off on that one.
No, it was fifth.
Yeah, it was fifth, and I said fourth. That was it. So I was 1 off.
They've given you a fourth, so they switched the fifth for a fourth.
So, and the 3 players I already knew about. When I heard there was 3 players, they announced Drew Lock immediately. I was like, okay, fair play.
Obvious.
And I was like, yeah, and I was like, and then players were dripping out afterwards, and I was like, okay, who? I'm thinking PS2. I'm thinking all of these players. And then it came out as
Shelby Harris.
Noah Fant at the end. Shelby Harris. So Shelby Harris, I'll miss because he's a good guy, but he's a defensive.
Very
tackle.
good defensive tackle.
Most defensive tackles don't win you games, though. They don't add on any points at the end of games.
Aaron Donald,
unless their name is Aaron Donald, exactly. Most don't know.
Beat you to it.
And
sorry.
Noah Fant, ex first round. He's probably mid second tier tight end. Sort of region.
That's changed over the course of the season. Beginning of the season, he was an elite top 10 tight end. I'm sure he was. Go back and listen.
I don't think I've ever said he's elite tight end. No, I think he's fine. I think he's good. I think he's fine.
All right.
I think. Yeah, no, that's he's not an elite guy. He's not a Kittle. He's not He's not one of those guys, but he's a good second tier tight end.
He's an upgrade
He's
for
not
the
a Darren
Seahawks
Waller
at tight end.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, they had who was it? They had Jared Everett last year, and Everett will be on the free this year, so they've got their guy basically. So yeah, I think it's perfectly good value. There's a lot of people saying that the Seahawks have won this trade, and I'm struggling to come to grips with that. I'm even trying to be neutral. The fact is, they don't draft well, and even if they do draft well, they've lost Russell Wilson. Where do you want?
With my neutral head on, I watched Russell Wilson last season. There was something missing, but I don't know what it was.
He came back from an injury, and his offensive line was ranked. Yeah, his offensive line was ranked 30th out of 32 in the league.
And where was your offensive line ranked?
9th by PFF. Okay. I mean,
okay.
PFF's offensive line ranks, you have to take them with a pinch of salt, because if a guy breaks through the line, they'll say he should have covered him when actually he might be looking for a Mike linebacker. And you don't always, because they say you didn't follow assignment, but they don't know what assignments were. So little pinch of salt with that. But yeah, it was ranked 9th overall.
The other thing to watch with him is that playing at Mile High, he is going to overthrow everybody. He just is. For the first season, he will overthrow everybody. No, he absolutely will. No,
he's not a dome QB, is he? He's used to the kind of.
No, he's not. He's used to the weather.
Throwing it in a hurricane.
It's the thin air, isn't it? Ball travels further, and we've already seen your receivers struggle to catch the ball when it's raining.
When you're there, though, when I was in Denver, and like you climb a flight of stairs, and afterwards you're like,
exactly,
Jesus Christ, give me a second.
Give me the oxygen.
It's real. It's genuine. It really is. But then saying that, we've not got a punter who can clear it more than 50 yards, so it's not that bad.
No, I think from a neutral point of view, it actually feels like quite a fair trade. I think you've given up the right amount of capital to not tip you over the edge into we can't do anything, blah blah blah, and
we've still got 6 or 7 picks now.
You've still got a decent amount of picks, but you've also got a bit of cap space to be able to do bits and pieces, and you're quite young. The only problem I'll say you're going to have is your pass rush. Your pass rush now, that's you're going to have to seriously look at that.
We've got enough cap space in free agency to go out and get someone. But one thing I wanted to mention to you. So adding Russell Wilson has actually given us cap space in a weird way. So you have, I'm sure people know this, but for those that don't, you have something called a rookie reserve. So as you enter free agency, the NFL force you to put money away for the picks that you have. So sometimes you can't trade for a player if you don't have the cap space because you don't have the rookie reserve for him. Anyway, Broncos had the 9th overall pick, and that gives you a rookie reserve of 15.12 million, around 15.1 million. Drew Lock had a cap space of about 1.5, Shelby Harris 8, Noah Fant 6.8, 6.9. So together that gives them a total of 36 million that has been cleared by transferring them to the Seahawks. Add on Russell Wilson's 24 million, and the Broncos are actually getting some change out of this. Now I fully expect Russell Wilson to sign a new contract before the start of the season. Fully expect that to happen because there's no guaranteed money now. There's no reason. If he went down injured, he'd be on IR money, which no quarterback wants. So I fully expect him to sign a new deal. Wouldn't surprise me if it's before free agency, just so the Broncos know exactly what they're dealing with. And
if his agent's any good, it'll be after Rodgers signs his.
Either way, if Rodgers signs his, who knows?
If Rodgers signs his. But if his agent's good, he'll make him wait until that's hit, because then they use that as the benchmark. His agent's obviously
very good. He's got him in Denver, so he's no fool. But we've got enough cap space. We've now got a quarterback, and I think it's the perfect time for us. I think it gives us opportunities to be able to move and actually make a run at the playoffs.
I think it makes the AFC West next season very, very interesting.
Murderer's row.
Yeah,
it literally is the group of death next season.
But you're right though, pass rush. And we did a podcast last week of what each team's need was, and we said absolutely it's pass rush for the Broncos. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, because you said we couldn't pick QB, so we had to pick.
Yeah. I mean, because that was easy and that was given. But we mentioned it was pass rush, and the only thing that's changed is we've lost a defensive tackle. So yeah, that becomes even more prevalent.
I would say if you're talking about why people might think that the Seahawks have won this trade, it's because they do finally have a first round pick this year, and then they have 2 next year, and they got 2 second-round picks. Both seasons. So they have now got a chance to take in some new talent. They do need to rebuild. They've just released Bobby Wagner after 10 seasons, and was it 8 Pro Bowls, 6 times All-Pro?
I'll take Bobby Wagner.
Absolutely.
There's talk of trades for DK Metcalf as well.
Yeah, potential trades there. So they are clearing house, but what they're not doing is clearing out the crypt keeper of Pete Carroll, who should have gone probably 3 seasons ago. So it doesn't make any sense to me what they're doing there.
They've said they're not in a rebuild. Now,
you've just given out your franchise quarterback.
You've just got rid of your best 2 players in the entire franchise, in your middle linebacker, who's your play caller, and your quarterback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're rebuilding. That's
got a Walter Payton award as well.
If they do get to, if we see Deshaun Watson cleared on Friday and cleared to be picked, wouldn't shock me if Seattle have a real run at him. And at that point, it's a different conversation. If they trade Deshaun Watson for Russell Wilson or vice versa, what do you think then? Who's got the best of that deal then? That's a conversation worth having.
Well, again, Deshaun Watson's younger than Russell Wilson.
Absolutely.
But he's not as squeaky clean Jesus tweeting as Russ is. So,
I mean, and the award for understatement of the century goes to.
And he also hasn't played for a season. So we'll see how that affects him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go. Those were the 3 big bits of QB news. I mean, there's going to be more, obviously. Like I said, Jimmy G. There's some other QBs, Deshaun Watson. We just don't know what's happening with those. But yeah, it's certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons. And we're going to have to find out. We'll obviously do another update next week. We're going to do our normal podcast later on this week with our continuation of the NFL review. We're going to be doing the AFC North and the AFC South. We're supposed to do it today, but we thought this was more important. So there we go. We thought we'd release this one for you on the Patreon. So thanks very much, guys, for checking this out, and look forward to being here very soon.